All right. Hey, welcome to another episode of a podcast. We're on 141. We got it titled here, Small Talk versus Deep Dive. I feel like this is an important one to cover here from personal experience. And I recently had a conversation around this exact topic with some people around not wanting to have small talk. And part of the reason I got a beach in the background here is because I went on a couple solo trips to hot destinations. And one of the ways I absolutely thrived was through small talk. And it led to deep conversations and deep dives. And I just think it's important. Both are really important. I totally get and respect where we're coming from when we say, like, I don't want to have this like small talk, little this and that. Part of that's related to, I think, just people wanting to like kind of cut through the shit. Whether it be at a business thing or in a personal relationship, they just want to try to like get to know you, find out what you're about, and move on, move forward, decide if they like you, they want to keep talking to you or not, and what you share is interesting to them. I think that small talk, and I'd heard this said on some short clip online. I didn't read it anywhere. I for sure saw it on Instagram or TikTok. And it was like just describing how important small talk is and how it is like the fabric of a lot of dialogue out there, right? You walk by someone in the morning, walking their dog, you say hi, you wave. There's many versions of small talk, hey, how's the weather? Oh, good, blah, blah. A lot of it is a little bit of fluff. And sometimes I even find myself being a little annoyed by it. I'm like, why am I even saying these things? It's just like very repetitive. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, I'm saying hi to the same guy I've seen walking around the neighborhood. He's got headphones on. I think this guy rocks out like 10K every day, no matter what season it is. I happen to be walking my dog either before or after the work day kind of thing. We don't dive much deeper than that. Do I have a good rapport with this guy? Would we both say the other person is a good guy? 100%. We know nothing about each other than the fact that I know that he walks around with like his headphones on. Don't know what he listens to. We have stopped and talked a couple times just about what kind of dog I have, and I think his family used to have a dog but doesn't anymore, but he misses walking, so that's what he does. That's about as far as I know, and I don't even know if he used to have a dog. That just seems like something that we had talked about. But nonetheless, I will share some stories here about how important small talk really had started off on some of these trips, and just like not to cut that out completely, I think is my major take home point. We all do love deep diving. Many of us do anyways, and sharing our story and hearing someone else's story so we can appreciate what they bring to the table. I think that is super high value. I think that having small talk though is the foundation and baseline. And I pulled up some stuff. I don't have a research team doing this stuff for me. We use ChatGPT, but we got this over here, and kind of like small talk is said to be, I'll list off some of this stuff and then I'll tell my story here. But small talk, the gateway to connection, casual surface level conversation. I think whether, as I said, weather, hobbies, recent events, common interest. If you know that already, great. Why it matters, builds trust, open doors, signals social intelligence and cultural necessity. For sure. You're walking by, like I said, you say, hey, even just a smile and saying hi to someone can go a long way. Deep conversations. This is where growth happens. This is what it says in here. A meaningful discussion to explore feelings, values, struggles, dreams, and shared experiences. Totally true. No matter what the environment is, whether that be personal and professional, within a family dynamic, strengthens bonds, creates empathy, drives insight, supports mental health, I guess, in terms of someone being honest about dialogue. It's probably pointing some stuff off because the last episode was about men's mental health, but it is important nonetheless. So we'll bring that into here. How they work together. Yeah, small talk can be an on-ramp. Deep conversation is the highway. Timing matters. Sometimes it's not always a deep dive. Sometimes it is small talk. Both are skills. Interesting point here. Okay, so the thing with the small talk and how I started this off on these solo trips. So the first solo trip I went on was New Year's Eve. Went down I was like looking online, and a bunch of friends at the time couldn't take the time off or whatever, and I was last minute. I was on like Boxing Day, and I'm like, I want to go somewhere hot. I don't want to stick around in winter for New Year's Eve. So I'm going to book a trip anyways. Message a few friends. No one wanted to come. Couldn't come, whatever the deal is. And I was being kind of sporadic. So I'm like, I'm going whatever, looking up Cuba, Jamaica, ended up going to Cuba. Booked this trip myself. And I went down there for a week. And everyone knows me as being incredibly social. But sometimes I get the angst creep in, little anxiety. And I remember being incredibly confident going down there. And I remember getting down there and having this like pretty realistic feeling at the time, being like, whoa, what did you do? Like, you're here alone, like nobody knows you here. what if you don't meet anyone? And I booked this at a resort in this case. It was pretty safe. There's, I don't know, 200 rooms in this thing, plus another 200 in the one next door. That's all kind of connected. I was like, I'm sure going to meet some people there that, either both the same age, similar interests. We'll hit it off. It's all inclusive for the week, bunch of food, some cool tours and things I wanted to go check out. But I was like, what's like the strategy to meet people? Like, what am I going to do walking around? Like, just start introducing myself. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go do some laps. We'll call them like loser laps, just cruising around the pool. Just, I know no one here at this stage. And I'm just going to act as if I'm everybody's friend already. And I'm just going to say hi to everyone, say, how are they doing? And then move on. And then just continue that throughout the pool and just see who's friendly, get a feel for the vibe. And that's what I did, I think, for like the first morning or part of the day there. By the time the afternoon hits, as you know, if you're at an all-inclusive, you're having a couple adult bevies, as it were, poolside. Everyone, it's a little looser, and they're like, hey, like, what's your deal? Like, who are you here with? And everyone, this was not planned. I just figured it would be a nice way to like meet other people, but then other people had seen me talking with other people. Some of them assumed some of the other people were my friends and vice versa. So by the end of me kind of like dropping these like jokes around, call them breadcrumbs, and folks that I know from that trip, if they're listening to this, we joked about it afterwards and just how well that worked in terms of meeting everyone basically around the two pools. And by the end of day 3, I think I knew everyone's name and everyone knew my name, just from simply saying hi, smiling, how you doing? Where you're from, how long you're here for, kind of little chats. If it did go that deep, that was pretty far actually at that stage of the trip. Fast forward, like I said, to the afternoon, got talking with everyone. I remember there was 3 guys from Toronto. They're about the same age as me. Scott, Gabe, and Sticks. I still remember their names. We stubbed each other on social media. We got over time at kind of doing those off, but I've been in Toronto a couple of times and bumped into those guys. There was a lovely couple. Kim and Megan, still have them on social media. They're from out east as well. I think Toronto as well. And lovely lady Deb from Montreal, and then a lovely couple. They're from Russia. Yevgeny and Anna. And within like this cohort of other like friends meeting, plus there was other extension of like people that were kind of there for part of the week, but not the whole week. So this was kind of inevitably became like a little bit of a crew. And now the importance of me having the small talk with everyone is like all of these people did not know each other before there, but I ended up being kind of like I guess like the hub of the wheel here in terms of just being friendly with everyone. And that led to a bunch of in-depth conversations throughout the week where we became very close. We were good pals throughout the week. And I feel like I'm missing someone though too. So sorry if this comes up later in the episode, but nonetheless, all this small talk led to just like an awesome experience. I remember actually one of the nights out there, I ended up like crashing a wedding by accident. We went off resort. Everyone kind of like had split up, and I was walking back and had like a guy like low key that was like security guy walking with me. And I was like, I kind of want some food. He's like, there's probably some food in here. The guy kind of like guided me into this wedding. Ended up having like just the most incredible experience on that trip. Running solo was my first time doing that. Nonetheless, all that small talk led to these more in-depth conversations throughout the way. Oh yeah, and then this entire family from Alberta who I coincidentally bumped into, some of them at Stampede this last year. And this Cuba trip was probably how many years ago? 5 years ago? 6 years ago, something like that, 6 years ago. And these people like recognized me, like, oh my God, Steve, what's going on? And it was just crazy because if I had not said hi in that like trip and that setting and stuff like that, I wouldn't have had these like random connections floating around. I just think that's high value importance in those situations to encourage small talk, even within your neighborhood and stuff like that. It could brighten someone's entire day. Speaking of that kind of hybrid that was mentioned in like ChatGPT notes here in terms of, I guess that was the deep dive in terms of like supporting mental health, but you never know if someone's having a shitty day and all of a sudden you say hi with a smile on your face and you lighten them up. Not that that's your whole MO of doing it, but if you're trying to break into that, like what a great way to do that and then test it out, maybe get out of your comfort zone. I know for me, this was a big one. I think people would be surprised to know I got a little like anxious on that one where I was like, what happens if I meet no one here? Like I'm just a loser all week kind of thing. I kind of have figured I'd make pals, but nonetheless, it did creep into my head and I was kind of worried about it. And then like the deep dive, it was so fantastic. I got to know these people really great. I know a lot about their lives. Still to this day, I could reference different things that we chatted about then, and we've kept up with the help and the means of social media to this day, which has been really fantastic. Another one, went to Costa Rica on a solo trip there. Same kind of thing. Ended up hitting it off, met up with a bunch of people. It's kind of like getting there through the airport. We're all flying down. I forget where the transfers were at. I think I got to Toronto, and met a bunch of people on the airplane heading down there. Got chatting with them. Became pals with a few people from Saskatchewan, which is really funny. Some folks that were also in agriculture. I get down to Costa Rica, met a bunch of people on that trip, doing very similar kind of things, but more importantly, just being myself at the end of the day, and chatting with them, very small talk stuff, and just how important that really was to opening the door to further conversations. Got invited to a bunch of really cool spots down there just from being friendly and starting off with small talk. Now, the deep dive side of things is something that I had gotten kind of stuck on until I'd seen, like I said, the short, and then I'd had some chats recently in a deep dive way about how small talk is. That's why I'm highlighting the importance of that first. I think everyone understands the importance of deep diving with someone. You really get to know them and what makes them tick, what's important to them, what's their why. Hopefully you're finding that out in whatever period of time that is, especially in situations where you're trying to build like rapport and trust in business, for example. I know a lot of our guests are business owners, and nothing more important than building that trust with them so they know they can trust you to help them in their business with a product you're supplying them, and how you're going to manage that product, either the ups and downs of whatever happens with that or the services that you're going to provide for them. And I think that's one of the biggest gaps almost right now, because we've gone very like subscription based, almost impersonal in many ways for how we subscribe to things. And I have found for myself anyways that relationships are so important in terms of doing the business together. And if I can't like necessarily trust you, and some of this comes from lived experiences where I've had, I'll say, negative outcomes from doing business with people. And I really wish I would have trusted my gut on a couple of them, but that's okay. There's about say a $10,000 lesson every year, at least, that gets taken away. So it'll help in the future for sure. I kind of laugh about them now. So what are you going to do? But ultimately that trust, that relationship, and how you manage like the negative times is more important than how you manage things when they're smooth sailing, so to say. And I think that's the importance of having that deepened connection there. Small talk gets you started. Deep dive continues to build off that foundation and really make like a solid relationship moving forward in terms of what that move forward looks like. And if you're unable to have some of those deep dive things, I think that's kind of a red flag. And whatever the situation is, business, personal, maybe you shouldn't pursue that. If your gut's saying differently. So this is kind of hybrid now. I'm giving like life advice on here in a joking way about small talk versus big talk. Wanted to get on here, talk about that. Got some stuff written on the whiteboard about it. But yeah, ultimately, that's the episode here. Small talk, really important. Keep up with it. Never know when you're going to brighten someone's day just by a little chitter chatter. And on the other end, make sure your deep dive conversations, you're trusting your gut when you're going through some of those things. Like I said, business or personal, make sure that you're able to like kind of see eye to eye on that. And that's it for small talk, and long talk is what I was going to call this one, but I think I called it deep dive on here. So hope you enjoyed the episode, a little short and dirty one here, and have a great rest of whatever your day or evening is like on your end here, folks.